AddMaths2008 Question 7. Simon and Gavin drive a distance of 140 kilometers along a motorway, both at constant speed. Simon drives 5 kilometers per hour faster than Gavin. Let Gavin's speed be v kilometers per hour. Number 1. Write down expressions in terms of v for the time taken by Gavin and Simon. Okay, over here we've got speed is distance divided by time, or velocity is displacement divided by time. Time, if we just use the one here, is distance divided by speed. If you rearrange that, or if you think of it in a formula triangle, that first triangle up there can be written as speed is distance divided by time. Time is distance divided by speed. So for both of these people, the distance is 140. So let's do them one at a time. Simon, first of all. His time is his distance divided by his speed, his velocity. That's 5 kilometers faster than Gavin. Gavin is v, so he is v plus 5. Another way of writing that is 140 divided by v plus 5. Gavin, distance is 140, velocity v, 140 divided by v. So that's part 1 complete. The next part of the question, we've got to find how we get up an equation on the exam paper. And it's all about their times. We already have Gavin's speed and Simon's speed. And what it's telling us now is Simon completes his journey in 15 minutes less than Gavin. Sorry, I should have said this is their time a minute ago, not their speed, this is their time. So the difference between the time is 15 minutes. 15 minutes is a quarter of an hour, and the units we are using are hours. So the difference between their times is a quarter of an hour. So we can get the equation here. That's the equation on the exam paper that they wanted you to get. So where it says explain, you would just have to sort of annotate that quarter there is the 15 minutes is a quarter of an hour. Then they can see where that comes from. Now we've got to get to a quadratic equation. So, okay, we've got to do taking away with fractions. Let's think, what do we do with fractions? We find a common denominator. The smallest thing v and v plus 5 go into is v and v plus 5 multiplied together. So, 140, okay, the v is already here. This v plus 5, you need to write it there so that they both cancel out and you're left with 140 over v. Over this side, that 140, I've got 140 over v plus 5. I've also got a v here. I need to put that there so that that cancels out. That v will cancel out. That bit will be 140 over v plus 5, the same as that. Another way of thinking about that is if you've got a over b minus c over d, that's always ad minus cb over bd. If you do a number example, you'll sort that out. Over here, that's still equal to a quarter. So, I've still got to get this quadratic equation they're giving me. Let's get rid of this fraction by moving the denominator here, the bottom of this fraction, over the other side. Actually, we could move that 4 as well, get rid of that fraction, the 4 up to here. So, the left hand side's top, I'm going to multiply that by that 4. So I've moved the 4 from the bottom to the top, dividing to multiplying. Over here, that 1, I'm going to times by the v and the v plus 5. Now I'm going to multiply out. Here, I've got 140v plus 5 lots of 140, which is 700, minus 140v, should be a v in there. Over here, I've got v squared plus 5v. Still got the 4 here, but that 140v and that 140v, they cancel each other out. So I've got 4 lots of 700, which is 2800 or 2800, is v squared plus 5v. So keep those things where they are, move the 2800 over here where it's negative, and that will give me the quadratic equation that they are after. Naught is v squared plus 5v minus 2800. I've now got to solve that equation. Ideally, we're going to see if it will factorise. So I need two numbers that multiply together to give me 28,000 and add or take to get 5. It's not obvious what that is. You can't actually get nice numbers, so we need to use the formula. So remember, if your quadratic equation is written down in its standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c, then the formula for the quadratic equation is minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Remember, in AddMaths, no formula are given to you that you need to remember. So if I stick those values in, v is 1v squared, so a is going to be 1. I'll just write a note of that over here. B here is the amount of v's, that's 5. And c will be minus 2,800. Those are the values I'm putting in the formula. Okay, so start with the substitution. X is minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac. You must be careful with your signs here. All over 2a. We start to work out what's inside that square root sign. We need to do 5 squared, take away 4 times by 1 times by negative 2,800, and that is 11225. So we can continue working through solving the equation. We need to square root that 11,000 number. If we do that, we get 105.95 over 2. So from here we'll get two answers. We'll get one answer if we use a plus sign, one answer if we use a minus sign. If we use a minus sign, we're going to have minus 5 minus another number. That's going to be negative. And what we're trying to work out here is the velocities. And it's not going to be a negative velocity. That's not going to be the sensible answer. The only answer we're actually interested in here is when the positive sign is in there. So if we work this out, we get an answer of 50.47, and this will be in kilometres per hour. So we've worked out now v, and from here we've got to find out the times given by Simon and Gavin. Earlier in the question we had the time for Simon was 140 over v plus 5, and the time for Gavin was 140 over v. Well, that is now our v. So for Simon it'll be 140 divided by 55.47, because I've added 5 to that value. That comes out to be 2.524 hours. Now we'll have to change that into hours and minutes. Now if you're doing this on your scientific calculator, there's a button here that should do that for you. Shift and then this button I'm pointing at here. We do shift and that turns it into 2 hours 31 minutes and 26 seconds. Okay, so we'll leave that to the nearest minute as 2 hours 31. And over here for Gavin, he had to be 140 divided by the v figure, 50.47. That works out to be 2.774 hours. So with that on screen, again if I do shift and that button, that's 2 hours 46 minutes, which is 15 minutes longer than the other person, which is what we expected. If you couldn't find that button on the calculator, when you have your 2.524 on your calculator screen, take the whole number bit away from it, and that is a decimal of an hour. Multiply that by 60 and you will get the number of minutes you need. Now the final answers to that question, the times they are taking: Gavin 2 hours 46, Simon 2 hours 31.